Well, good morning, everybody. From Pine Grove Furnace, Pennsylvania. I thought since everything's kind of quiet here now, it might be a good opportunity to do a real quick tour of the hostel, which is called the Iron Masters Mansion. There's a lot of history here, and I'm sure I won't do it justice, but essentially this area was once a very active iron ore furnace where they made different types of metals and fabrications, from stoves to pots, and potentially even in the late 1700s they were doing munitions for the Revolutionary War here. And that continued for a number of years, using this area as a furnace. And you can still find some iron slag, on the ground around these areas. So, a lot of the older buildings and things of that nature are still right here in the area. And we'll take a tour of the outside and try to find some of these older buildings, but give you a sense as to what this place used to look like. This was back in 1914, and I believe this building here on the hill is where we're standing now on the upper level. And down here is the old furnace, and this is what I believe is now the Appalachian Trail Museum. And then the general store where we had the burger yesterday is over on the other side of the street. You can't see it from this shot. Of course, it wasn't even there at that time, but you can see here that they're mining the ore out of the ground and moving it to the furnace. So it was a very, very active area all the way up until the early 1900s, and the ore dried up, but it became more of a place where, because it's a beautiful area with water, and it was a place where it became more of a tourist location. There was activities for summer camps and things of that nature. And then, of course, the Appalachian Trail in the early 30s, supported by the efforts of the CCC, built the Appalachian Trail. It comes right through this area too. So you can see at one point it was more of a summer camp, and lots of buildings and lots of activities for kids and churches. This is the site of the former it was once a POW camp, believe it or not, transformed with the Evangelical and Reformed Church, later known as United Church of Christ, and the Presbyterian Church USA, decided to open a religious education camp for the youth in 1947. So, and then it ultimately shut down in 1972. So it's changed hands a lot, but the bigger point of history here is the foundry or the furnace, and the use of the iron ore minerals here in the area. This is a private room, which, if you wanted to take it on as a bed and breakfast, this would be a nice place to stay. But just know that there's a lot of hikers here too, so you may not have the tranquility that you'd assume in a bed and breakfast. And OPS, there's no breakfast. This is the upper bunk room, which they call dorms here, but essentially a bunk room. So this one has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 bunks in here. And this is the non-snoring room. Needless to say, this is not the room that I stayed in last night. That was downstairs. This one is light sleepers only. Non-snoring room is downstairs. So we'll go down there and check that out. I don't think there's anything upstairs at the very top floor for us to go see. So let's go down real quickly. So this is the snoring room. Deep sleepers, CPAPers, and snorers only. So this is the place that we stayed in last night. I didn't see any CPAPers though, but I certainly heard a lot of snoring. So this is Detox's spot, and over there, that one that's really a mess, that's mine. But it got kind of loud in here last night for sure. Everybody wears earplugs, so it's no big deal. Yeah. Then there's just simply some big common areas that some are used more than the others. As an example, it's where a lot of people kind of hang out here, and then if they're going to cook their meals or whatever, okay, again, there's not food, so you're bringing your own meals in here to cook, then you'd likely sit in here. There's even a self-check-in where you sign yourself in, pay your money, put it into a slot, and take care of all that yourself. So it's pretty, there's not a lot of services. It's just one of those things where you got a roof over your head. But it's a nice old building. It just, it's got to be a lot to keep up for sure. This thing was built, I believe, in the early 1800s. So, it's got some age on it, no question about that. But that's the inside of the building, and we'll take a tour on the outside and see some of the other buildings that's in the area, okay? Have a great morning. We'll check back with you in a moment. So again, this is the Iron Master's Mansion. They used to call it the Big House back in, and it was built, as you saw the picture, 1827 to 1829. Took a couple years to build it. All brick building, really well built. It just, it's fallen in disrepair in some areas. I can only imagine the amount of upkeep that would really be required to bring it up to, current day standards for sure, but it's not terrible. It's certainly not bad. And as far as hostels go, for the price, it's not bad either. So no issues really with it whatsoever. It's just simply an old building that has seen better days, right? So we're going to walk down here a bit and check out some of the other areas here in the state park. We'll go on down to the furnace, which I believe is down here on the left, and we'll get back to you. This gives you a picture of the old ironworks that were here at this location. You can see that it was a pretty significant operation that they had right here. And I believe right there in the center of the picture is the old furnace, which we're about to look at the remnants of now. So this is that furnace that the whole place is named after, Pine Grove Furnace. Lots of activity happening.
My name is Andre. I'm the head of the Friends of Pine Grove Furnace State Park. And as you can see, I do most of the history programming for the state park as a volunteer. And over here we have Angela, our park educator. So this is a somewhat unusual and I think a bit unique tour that I've developed at Pine Grove Furnace State Park, where we're going to walk over to the slag pile or cinder heap. So this is a waste material from iron making. So we're going to focus on that and also on water power, which is very important to 19th century industry. So this furnace operated 1770s to 1895. It's a blast furnace, and the word blast brings us to the water part of the slag and water tour. So there was a water wheel here. In fact, for about 100 years, there was a large water wheel that operated some machinery, kind of like a bicycle pump, that was forcing air into the bottom of the furnace. So although explosions did happen, which is what we today talk about as a blast, there were various bad things that could happen in a furnace like this. When we talk about a blast furnace, we mean the blast of air that's really critical to operating the iron smelter. So smelting is separating out the iron from the stuff that is not iron. So here's a piece of iron ore from an ore quarry that's a 5-minute walk from us, and on other tours we actually walk into it. Not planning on doing that today. It's in the opposite direction from where we're headed. And when you look at this piece of iron ore, it's heavy, right? So it looks like a piece of rust, and it weighs more than an average rock because it's about 44% iron. And so iron ore is not quite double the density of a regular rock like a piece of limestone. So when you look at it and see that kind of rusty color, that's iron bound to oxygen. And the job of the blast furnace is to separate the iron from the oxygen, maybe carbonate, maybe sulfur, all kinds of things in nature that iron binds to. The rest of this rock, about 56%, right, is silica and alumina, and that's the stuff under our feet. So the blast furnace, by forcing air, burning a carbon fuel like wood charcoal, creates carbon monoxide, which does some high temperature, high volume chemistry inside this monster. And we end up with a lot of greenhouse gases going out the top, and we end up at the bottom with liquid iron at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not the focus today. What we're interested in is the 56% that's not iron ore. That alumina and silica bound to a bunch of other impurities in this rock is liquid at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And one of the tricks for iron smelting is, along with the ore and the carbon fuel, we put in a little bit of limestone. And this is limestone from the historic quarry right next to our community cemetery at the top of the hill behind Fuller Lake. So this is mostly calcium carbonate. In fact, this is dolomitic limestone, so it's magnesium carbonate, works just as well. The calcium or magnesium likes to grab onto the stuff that is not iron in the ore. So we end up with this calcium, magnesium, aluminate, silicate product. And again, it's a liquid at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It trickles down along with the iron to the bottom of the furnace, but it's less dense, so it's floating on top. So imagine this thing's operating, and about every 12 hours, we're going to break open a clay plug where that sad, not really accurate metal door is, and we've got some bricks that shouldn't be there, but we're going to have the liquid metal flow out. Separately, we're going to let the liquid waste product flow out to the side. We let it solidify. Typically, they break it up into big chunks, and then it gets thrown away. And that's what we're going to visit. Believe it or not, from where we're standing, if it wasn't for all these annoying state park trees, we could see a 35-foot high mountain of slag. In less than half an hour, we're going to be standing on top of it.
All right, folks, I got a little bit of a surprise tour I got to step into there. I didn't really have the time necessarily to dedicate, to the whole thing. I think that tour is like an hour long. But it's cool to learn how that furnace worked and how that operation happened so many years ago. So the guy was very, very informative. So I'm gonna head on up here to the general store, and the store is now open, and see if I can find a little something for breakfast, to be honest with you. And I'm also hoping that the Appalachian Trail Museum might be open today. I'm not sure, but we'll check that out as well. So there, that building is, you might recognize, is where we stopped yesterday afternoon and had the burger. That's where I'm headed again. This is where they do the half-gallon challenge. So again, as a refresher, because we've just passed the halfway mark on the Appalachian Trail, this is where people celebrate, I guess, to some degree. And it's somewhat of a tradition that a thru hiker will stop and they'll completely eat a half-gallon of ice cream to commemorate their accomplishment. To me, again, I don't know that that sounds so great to me. I like the whole tradition thing, but I don't think that will do me very well to eat a full half gallon of ice cream. So this is the general store here. I'm gonna go in and see what we have. I'll give you a quick peek. Good morning. Good. So they have some resupply stuff, drinks and chips and things that you might expect at a convenience store, but they obviously they also have a bit of a kitchen where they'll do burgers and things like that for lunch, as well as breakfast sandwiches and things. But they close at 2 o'clock, so we're trying to grab some food and before it gets too close to lunchtime, it messes up lunch. But here's the ice cream. That's what you'd have to choose from if you wanted to eat a whole half gallon of ice cream. Hershey's is a brand that's pretty strong in the area. Of course, you got Hershey's, Pennsylvania, which is not too far away. So it's a pretty strong brand, even of ice cream here in this area. And so this is what you would select and ultimately sit down to try to eat the whole thing. So yeah, I would probably go with something like Neapolitan or maybe a straight vanilla. Some of these complex flavors might be a little bit difficult, like green mint chip. I can't imagine eating a whole half gallon of that. So yeah, this is the Pine Grove General Store. Okay, again, I'm just now leaving the Pine Grove Furnace General Store, and believe it or not, we're back on the Appalachian Trail, head northbound. The building up in front of us here is the Appalachian Trail Museum. And I've watched a lot of other videos and things of that nature. I've never found this thing to be open. Actually, my wife and I visited here, I don't know, a couple years ago. And it was closed at that time too. So I don't have high hopes because I don't really know how often this place is actually open. But if it is open, it'd be great to get in there and kind of check it out. We'll see. So we're here at the Appalachian Trail Museum in Pine Grove Furnace, and unfortunately it is closed. Just checked the hours of operation, and it appears in May that it's only open on Saturdays and Sundays, and I'm here on a Wednesday, so unfortunately it doesn't work for us today. But what a beautiful building, and I have seen pictures of the inside, and there's a lot of really cool history there regarding the vision and the development of the Appalachian Trail, and you know, some of the people who made all that happen. So maybe another day I have to come back and try it again, I presume. So that's a quick overview, I think, of Pine Grove Furnace area here. It's a small little area, and again, the heart of it was the development of the furnace and the use of the iron ore, and all that happened in the late 1700s and early 1800s. So now it's really recreational, you know, and the Appalachian Trail again runs straight down the middle here, but it's still yet it's a state park, and there's a lot to do from a recreational standpoint for families or church groups or things of that nature, and cool place to be. So we're hanging out here today. I don't know if I really got into that, so we're taking a 0 day. Part of the reason is I'm going to be meeting my wife and my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law a week from today. The intent was I would get to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. They would pick me up and we would head over to Lancaster, or if you live locally, it's Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and into the Amish country. We'd spend a couple of days and then I'd get back on trail. Well, we've been moving at such a faster than estimated pace, then I would ultimately be as far as maybe 100 miles north of that pickup point by next week. So we're slowing down a bit, and we have been kind of slowing down, taking some short days, and today a day off completely in an effort to get me close. Still going to be well above Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I think I'll be I'm not sure of the town, almost to Hamburg, Pennsylvania. So it's getting to a place where it's kind of getting pretty expensive to get a shuttle back to Lancaster. So kind of slowing the jets a little bit, pumping the brakes a little bit, all in an effort not to get too far north. Detox is going to wait for me in Hamburg for a couple of days while I visit with family, and then we'll reconnect in Hamburg and ultimately move further north. So that's the plan. So not a lot happening today. We're going to have probably another nice lunch here at the store and just kind of hang out and rest and relax and hit it hard again tomorrow. So we've got a plan completely built out with the shuttle drivers and where we're going from one day to the next for at least the next week. So yeah, it's going to be fairly strenuous. We plan to do about 105 miles within the next 7 days. So there's a lot of miles to make. So that's the scoop, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the brief tour of Pine Grove Furnace, which included a lot of detail related to geology and how the overall ironworks happened here in this location in the late 1800s. The mansion is also kind of the center point of the area, and it's moved and changed hands a number of times and different owners. It's now owned by the state park itself and operated as a hostel to serve the Appalachian Trail through hikers that come right through the middle of this little town. So it's a pretty cool location. So I hope everybody's had a great day, and we will look forward to getting back on trail first thing in the morning. Have a great day.